The basic thing that I came in just obsessed with is the fact that about a third of our kids are reading by the 3rd grade. And by the 7th grade, it's no better, and about half of our kids will drop out of high school. So to me, that's a clear and obvious cry for something to be done quite differently than it's been done in the past. If you look at the national assessments in English, they've pretty much stayed flat. So we've made no gains. In other words, from a wealthier environment, they come to school with a certain life pathway, and if they come to school with less resources, they have a certain pathway, and basically very few schools and almost no systems have changed that fundamentally, which means that we're having very little impact in school, that in fact it has to do with whether or not you're lucky to have been born to a family with resources. There are schools in Newark, there are teachers in Newark, there are schools across the country who are working with students who are predominantly poor and getting really dramatic results. They're putting them on a pathway to college. You just rolled 1 twice.
Since it's a probability, you could expect anything, possible to land on anything.
Interesting. So we're seeing it in classrooms and increasingly in schools, but we're not seeing it in systems. So my basic position is if it can happen anywhere, it should be happening everywhere, because there's no reason why we have to remove the barriers to that kind of success. Good job, guys. The biggest controversy in the past couple months has been that I proposed closing 8 schools and combining some of them, as well as just kind of restaffing several of them. That has caused a lot of emotion.
You're closing these schools that have a history. A history, there are people in this building whose grandfather went to that school.
There have been just extreme emotions.
You robbed them of their ancestry once, why not rob them of their schools?
Every big system change that we've seen requires a certain level of disruption. I mean, it requires a certain level of breaking of the monopoly, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the only way I can think to get results. So this is a way of getting a whole new fresh start and a sense of momentum so that we can see if we can't break this logjam about schools that have, more than 3/4 of their kids who are not reading at grade level. I mean, for me, that it cries out for something not like slightly different, something completely different. My parents had 3 kids and adopted 9. A range of races and ethnicities. What's your name? And lots of diversity in my family.
Here we go, folks.
I saw at a very early age how people reacted differently and expected different things depending on what we looked like.
Our champion of reading in Newark, the mayor!
And that struck me as intensely unfair, and my siblings were not afforded the kind of high expectations and respect that I was because of the way I look.
You gotta read, baby, read.
I look at every kid in Newark, I think about my son, I think about my siblings, and I think, so if we organize ourselves well as adults, every single kid in the city should be able to choose what they want to do with their life. But the pathway to that decision is an exemplary education, is really the skills, the academic, the social and emotional skills to get there. And so every year that we allow students to be in a system that doesn't deliver on that promise is a year, that a kid walking down the streets of Newark is having a choice made for them.